And yet here's dogwood, overshadowed, small, but not inclined to droop and count its losses. It cranes its way to sunlight after all, and signs the air of May with Maltese crosses. And here's witch hazel that from underneath course by a grand reel of stars, whose banded force, catching us up, makes light of all our loss, and dances us into the Northern Cross. Well, if I must surrender and be gay in the wrong pasture of the Milky Way, if heaves aloft and spreads two leaves which still display no sure and special signature, toothless and fat, they keep the oval form of sleep. This plant would like to grow and yet be embryo, increase and yet escape the doom of taking shape, like a kitchen girl, so it were sweet and reckless. Or is it that idolatrous fool that's in me, who, lest she alter, should enchant the hour with gentled sparrows and an aimless lute, enthralling her with tales of a king's daughter, bound in mountain sleep, whose prince and wakener, detained by trials in deserts, deeps, and grottos of the world, approaches her forever? Or am I spited by the priest I might be, of night and numbness and the taste of nothing? Out of present pain and from past terror, their bullet-shaped buds came quick and bursting, as if they aimed to be open with us. But the sun suddenly settled about them, and green and yet when I caused his work to jar and stammer, and one free subject loosened all his grammar, I love him, poor slaty flesh abandoned in a heap, and then, like sea rocks buried by a wave, bulldozed at last into a common grave. It is not tricks of sense, but the time's fright within me which distracts least fancies into violence, and makes my thought take cover in the facts, as now it does, remembering how the bed of layered rock 2 miles above my head hove ages up and broke soundless asunder. Ask me these questions I propound, I shall but say again dismayed, ah, where shall last year's snow be found? Two voices in a meadow, a milkweed, anonymous as cherubs over the crib of God. White seeds are floating out of my burst pod, white, grown perfectly shy. The lark avoid the reaches of our eye, the jack pine lose its knuckled grip on the cold ledge, and every torrent burn as xanthus once, its gliding trout or wish to me. Ask us whether with the worldless rose our hearts shall a shape of plenty with a mop of grain. She broke upon the world, in time took on the look of every labor and its fruits. Columnar in a robe of pleated lawn, she cupped her patient hand for attributes, was radiant captive of the farthest tower, and shed her honor on the fields of war, walked in her garden at the evening hour, her shadow like a dark ogival door, failed to perceive them as they float through the great hall and up the staircase, nor are the cobwebs broken. Into the pallid night emerging, wrapped in their flapping capes, routinely maddened by a wolf's cry, they stand for a moment, stoking the mind's eye with lewd thoughts of the pressed flowers and bric-a-brac of rooms with something to lose, of love-dismembered dolls and children buried in quilted sleep. The wind shrank away with a swallowed hiss, caught in a widening blank parenthesis, cry upon cry faltered and faded out. Everything seemed to die. Oh, without doubt, peace like a plague had gone to the world's verge. It is reflecting the natives' flustered insistence that they do not count, as well as their modest horror of letting one's sex be known in so many words. The uniform gray of the nondescript building, the absence of churches or comfort stations, have given observers an odd impression of ostentatious meanness. And it must be said of the citizens, muttering by in their ratty sheepskins, shying at cracks in the sidewalk, that they lack the peace of mind of the truly humble. My lad as to be purged of sight. The aspen speaks. Your water livens me, but not your word, if what you spoke was what I thought I heard. But likely I mistook you, what with the claims of crow and cricket teaching me their names, and all this flap and shifting in my head, I must have lost the drift of what you said. Waiting in self. Oh, even when we fell clean as a mountain source and barely able to tell such ecstasy from grace into the primal bed and current of our race, we knew yet must deny to what we gathered head. That music growing harsh, trees blotting the sky above the roaring course that in the summer's drought hopes and heroes fraught, 10 times more golden than the sun could show, Calypso gave the darkness I besought. Oh, but her fleecy touch was dearly bought. All spent, I wakened by my only bride, beside whom every vision is but naught, and die of thirst here at the fountain side. Where does that plenty dwell, I'd like to know, which fathered poor Columbus and his men, they say, conveyed the virus hither, whereby my features rot away and vital powers wither. Yet had they not traversed the seas and come infected back, why think of all the luxuries that modern life would lack. All bitter things conduce to sweet, as this example shows. Without the little spirochete, we'd changed, and yet these leaves now read like a love letter that's no longer meant. Now on all things is dark, we stand and gaze above. For all they cannot share, all that the world cannot in fact afford, their lofty premises are floored with the massed voices of continual prayer. How far it is from here to Emily Dickinson's father's house in America. Think of her climbing a spiral stair, flying in place, conveying the terrible speed of their omnipresence, moving and staying like white water. And now, of a sudden, they swoon down into so rapt a quiet that nobody seems to be there. The soul shrinks from all that it is about to remember, from the punctual rape of every blessed day, and cries, "Oh, let there be nothing on earth but laundry, nothing but rosy hands in the raft grudging in his firelit seat, though with his heavy body's full consent, in what would be the posture of defeat, but for that look of rigorous content. Out and more interminable to thought than pleasure's calculus. Yet since this all is pleasure, flash, and waterfall, must it not be too simple? Are we not more intricately expressed in the plain fountains that Moderna set before St. Peter's? The main jet struggling aloft until it seems at rest in the act of rising, until the very wish of water is reversed, that heaviness borne up to burst in a clear, high, cavorting head, to breathe Nignan. That siren's daughter rose in a fort of dreams and spoke the word sleep, her voice like dark, diving water. And Merlin slept, who had imagined her of water sounds and the deep, unsoundable swell, a creature to bewitch us